Star Wars 7x7, episode 2714. Remember how we were having a conversation not too long ago about Rogue Squadron and whether it's really going to be delayed or whether it might actually hit its December 2023 scheduled release date? Well, there's been a new development on that front, and things are definitely looking more hopeful again. Punch it! Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy, and thank you so much for joining me for it. So a month ago today, yeah, crazy, right? That was when the word broke in the Hollywood Reporter, this rumor that Rogue Squadron was going to be delayed, that there were scheduling conflicts with Patty Jenkins, and that it was going to cause problems and Rogue Squadron wouldn't ultimately hit its December 2023 release date. Now at the time, here's what they said in the Hollywood Reporter. They said it's unclear what, if any, of Jenkins's commitments were at issue specifically, but she is in development on Wonder Woman 3 for Warner Brothers and a Cleopatra feature for Paramount. Sources say Wonder Woman 3 was initially to have followed Rogue Squadron, but that could shift now that the latter is off the table. And then Variety checked with their sources and said they heard the same thing, and then Deadline Hollywood checked with their sources and said they heard the same thing, and they said they heard that casting hadn't yet started. And when you and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, one of the things we talked about was how we have been looking at Rogue Squadron in terms of The Force Awakens, since essentially they're starting up brand new films, right? And so the timetable for The Force Awakens and its pre-production and production could be used as a proxy for figuring out where things are with Rogue Squadron. And casting in earnest had not been done on The Force Awakens until 2014. So basically it would be the equivalent of 2022 for Rogue Squadron. And so the fact that casting was not yet underway at this point wasn't necessarily cause for alarm. Not to mention the fact that all of these reports said that the movie had been taken off of Disney's production schedule, but the actual production schedule available at Disney, the most recent one, still had it on there. So no idea where anybody was getting this notion that it had been pulled off the production schedule. And then following on that, about a week later, there were reports that the scheduling thing was an excuse and that there were creative differences, things happening behind the scenes and raising the specter of, oh my gosh, the stuff that happened with Solo and the stuff that happened with Rogue One and this, that, and the other was all going on. And at the time we talked about it, I have to say, I wasn't wholly convinced. I mean, there was reason logically to look at where the reporting was coming from and say, okay, maybe there could be some validity to it potentially. But yeah, there was just too much other evidence, circumstantial, but the preponderance of it, that made it seem like, okay, yeah, I don't know if we can jump to that conclusion just yet. So now we arrive at this week and the big news, which is that Patty Jenkins is no longer going to be the director of Cleopatra. Instead, Kari Skogland is going to jump in on that, and she is probably best known in fandom circles for being the director of all the episodes of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series on Disney+. Of course, she's done other cool stuff too, including being involved in the early days of The Handmaid's Tale, but I guess it was her work on Falcon and Winter Soldier that really sold her for the Cleopatra project, apparently. And so Patty Jenkins is no longer directing, but she is still going to be a producer on the movie. And this is another situation where, as we've been talking about news and rumors and that sort of thing, Deadline Hollywood is the one that hit with this one. They said Skogland steps in for Patty Jenkins, who is attached to direct and is pivoting to a producing role. Jenkins fell off as director so she could focus on her next two projects, Wonder Woman 3 and Star Wars Rogue Squadron. And then Variety followed up with their sources and confirmed the same thing and said Jenkins has relinquished directing duties for Cleopatra, and Kari Skogland is taking over filmmaking duties. Jenkins isn't departing the project entirely. She will remain involved in a producing role as she pivots attention to her next two projects, Wonder Woman 3 for Warner Brothers and Star Wars Rogue Squadron for Disney and Lucasfilm. Now, I suppose if you wanted to try to make trouble with any of this, you could say that, oh, isn't it interesting that Deadline and Variety both put Wonder Woman first in the list of things that Patty Jenkins is going to be working on, when it does seem like it should be Star Wars, if Star Wars is going to keep to the timeline that would allow it to hit in December of 2023 in theaters. But then you could also say that she was announced as working on Wonder Woman 3 first, before she was announced as working on Rogue Squadron. So yeah, there's any number of ways to play that, to be honest. So yeah, I don't think we need to worry about that. I think the thing that we need to take away from this is that when the initial report came out and the reason given for the delay was scheduling conflicts, some segments cast doubt on whether that was the actual legitimate reason. And I would say that this news certainly seems to suggest that scheduling conflicts were actually an issue, to the point where Patty Jenkins relinquished the directing role and is just now going to be a producer so that she can have the time to focus on the two other projects, Wonder Woman 3 and Rogue Squadron. So it really does seem like that lends itself to the scheduling conflicts narrative. And I did go back and double check the Disney movie release calendar on their website just to be sure, and October 14th is still the most recent one they have, and Rogue Squadron is still on there. So it seems like the scheduling conflicts narrative, I mean, it really does seem like that is actually the case. So I'm very excited to hear what actually develops next as far as like real news about Rogue Squadron. But I have to say, I'm not expecting it to come from the Hollywood Reporter, because man, they have been really silent on stuff. Like nothing about the Ahsoka series, as we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks, and they did not report on this change in directing duties for Cleopatra at all. Like I've given them a couple of days and nothing has come up on it. So there's something going on with the Hollywood Reporter and Star Wars that I don't understand. Like I'm starting to get a little conspiracy theory-ish about it. But yeah, I guess we're gonna have to keep an eye on that too and see if anything develops. But there you go. Rogue Squadron still seems like it is on track for its December 2023 release. Fingers crossed. And that is going to do it for this episode of the show. It just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for it, as always. And may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2021 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.